Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I want to talk to you today about something I saw on the news. Germany is wanting to tax meat. They want to put a high tax on it so that people buy it less. Now the United States is wanting to do the same. And they will eventually succeed at doing that. They won't stop until they do. Because they don't want us to eat meat. They think that cows are destroying the earth. Actually, they think humans do too. They think that we are causing climate change. That's why many years ago they had this big thing about don't have so many children because humans are, destroying the climate. And so it destroys the earth. But they will eventually succeed. And what will that do? That will impoverish thousands of people in this country because meat will no longer be affordable to most people here. Now the rich will always be able to afford it. No matter what kind of tax they put on it, they'll still get to enjoy their ribeye. But the rest of us won't. And the problem of it is even if we try to go with their soy product type meats or different type, it's going to cost a lot more than meat would. A lot of people have complained over the years that vegetables were so expensive compared to cheap chemical foods. A lot of people would buy cereals, and of course at one time we were told cereals were really good for us. They keep changing their minds on what's good for us and what isn't. And so a lot of people would feed their kids cereals because, hey, that was part of the food pyramid. And it was cheaper. It was cheaper than trying to feed your kids bacon and eggs every day or, something a little more healthier for them for breakfast than cereal. But cereal was cheaper. And so potato chips, Cheetos, they introduced all those things into our diets and never bothered to tell us that a high consumption of this junk was bad for us. So now they want to take away our meat because they think it's destroying the climate. It's destroying our earth. Well, I'm not going to argue here or there whether it is or not. I will say this. We have been told for far longer than 10 years that we only had 10 years to get the climate change under control before we were all going to die or the polar bears were going to become extinct. And by the way, the polar bears are doing quite well. So I'm skeptical of anything they say because everything they claim that would happen didn't happen. And all the death and destruction and everything that was going to happen to us if we didn't do this within so many years didn't happen. A lot of it. And you also got to stop and think. It wasn't originally called climate change. They got found out about a lot of their lies because at firstly it was called, global warming. But then they said we were entering an ice age, so that kind of blew the global warming out of the water. And there's facts after facts that you can look up online that show that a lot of things they said are not true. But what I'll say is this. You notice the rich? How they'll go to their big conferences over climate change and their huge private jets and their luxurious cars, and they could care less what they're doing to the climate. Now, I will say this when it comes to climate change. I'm a firm believer if you believe in something, you don't just talk, you do action. So if you really believe that all of this is destroying the climate, why are you flying around in the country in your jets and your gas hogs? That's a hypocrite. That's not somebody who is really that concerned with climate change. Now, I did hear about a man who said he was very concerned about climate change. He lived with no electricity. He rode a bicycle. He raised his own meat, and it wasn't cows. He kept it very limited to what he did. He left the least possible footprint negative on this earth. He lived what he believed. These people don't live what they believe. When I see them quit flying all over the country, filling our skies with fumes, and I see them get rid of their gas hogs, and their luxurious houses filled with all kinds of electricity and big, beautiful screen TVs that most of us couldn't even afford, then maybe I'll start to believe that at least they believe what they're saying and they're living accordingly. Because most of us can't even leave the kind of footprint these people do. Most of us can't afford to fly around the country and everywhere and get paid millions of dollars for doing speeches on climate change while they're filling the earth with all the destruction that they claim that we're doing. Walk the walk and stop just talking. If you really think it's going to happen, then why don't you quit eating cow? Why don't you quit eating your luxurious ribeye at the store or at the fine 5-star restaurants? You didn't get fat that way by just eating greens. And you got some hefty looking people in this global warming situation that really could use some dieting. They are leaving a horrible imprint with their farts. And trust me, as fat as they are, they're making a lot of them. But that's my rant on it. I believe it's being done not so much for the earth, but it's to redistribute wealth. And if they make it where we can't afford meat, let me explain something to you. There isn't enough land on this earth that can grow vegetables to feed all of us. As you can see with all the destruction from, they keep talking about, well, you know, the global warming has caused all this flooding. What? Do they think that all of a sudden because they get rid of all the cows, everything's going to be hunky-dory? No, it's not. And you're not going to have enough greens to sustain people. We don't have enough farmland to do all that if that's all people are eating, because just to get your daily calories, you'd have to eat a whole lot more green vegetables, trust me. Because greens don't have that much in them. Oh, but they're expecting you to eat the fake meat. You know, the kind that supposedly is better for the earth, that is made out of God only knows what, because I sure don't, nor would I trust it. But the thing of it is it will cost you more than your regular meat at the store, and that's the whole point. It sends you more and deeper into poverty. But do they care? Of course not, because they're rich. And the rich don't give a darn about the poor. If they did, they wouldn't be doing some sort of stupidity like this. And they sure in the heck wouldn't be flying around the countryside on jets and planes and everything else and they can think of that supposedly is causing all of this climate change. Hypocrites, I do say. Yes, they are. I don't know if climate change is true or not. I believe that man has done some things, yes. I do. When you see, like I did a few years ago on the news about, you know, these little scrubbers that were putting in creams for women to scrub their faces with, were clogging up the holes in the water systems, and the water couldn't flow through because these things didn't disintegrate, you know, and so they were clogging up holes. Yeah, I think sometimes we can be vain, and I do think sometimes things that we do damage the climate, you know. But let's get rid of some of the plastic. You know, we used to have jars of mayonnaise come in glass. But, oh, let me explain to you. They want to go after your little straw and the soda that you get at McDonald's. But they don't want to go after the mayonnaise companies who are putting out huge amounts of plastic in mayonnaise jars. Let them go back to glass. But, oh, see, they don't like that because then there's too much damage and they have to pay for it. You know, and the companies don't want that. The grocery stores don't want to lose. When one of their employees drops a jar of that mayonnaise and it breaks on the floor, then they got a loss on their hand. But that wouldn't happen with plastic. They don't care how many plastic bottles come in soda because they don't want to mess with the big companies. They just want to mess with the little guy. Let's take away his straws. But who cares how many soda bottles are filled with soda that are plastic, or even milk that's filled with plastic, or even mayonnaise that's filled with plastic, and all the other plastic we got floating around. Just take the straws away from the poor man. That's how you do it. The man who's going to the drive-thru at McDonald's, which in general is for the poor man, but they'll be more than happy to sell you some glass straws, fine and fancy. You'll feel very important. You're saving the earth only cost you $500 for some beautiful glass straws. Doesn't that tell you something right there? They're already finding ways to get rich off of their nonsense, screaming, plastic is destroying us, when it's not us who's putting most of the plastic in the oceans to begin with. But do they go after the nations who are? Of course not. They go after us, the little man, the poor man, who works his butt off day after day, week after week, and they take and take and take. No, I don't have much use for politicians, not any of them. Some people say, oh, are you a Trump supporter? Oh, are you a Democrat? Oh, are you a Republican? Let me say something to you. My grandmother used to say, if you know an honest man, don't ever vote him into the politics because he won't stay honest for long. Does that tell you something? I don't think either side gives a darn about any of us. They only care about lining their own pockets and redistributing the wealth into theirs. Now, that's my rant. Look forward to them eventually getting their way and charging us a huge tax on meat and less for you to eat. But they'll still have plenty. Not to worry. They can fly around the countryside in their fancy jets and their fancy gas guzzlers and their beautiful huge mansions while they pull in the billions telling us the polar bears are dying. May you have a very, very blessed day, and I hope you enjoyed this.